fan of the Hodaki Big Show podcast? Make sure you check out more from Jay, Smike and Keezy on their Instagram at Hodaki Big Show, or tune in to them 4 to 7 every weekday on Radio Hodaki. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate. G'day, fellas.
Hey.
Yeah, man.
How you going, you party animals?
Oh, yeah, good.
You massive gig-going stallions.
I'm partied out, man.
Yeah,
Good,
you look
man.
at Pugs. Sounding quite nasally too.
Well,
What?
I don't know why I went sober. Maybe I got hay fever from the grass.
Hey, fever. Good times. We'll save it for the show, but
Yes.
it's good. But, however, I got to bed about 11:30 or 12. Man, it was like I was hungover when I woke up.
Yeah,
There was a lot of people smoking DAC there, though.
There was.
yeah.
Hell of a lot.
A lot. Wide age range as well of people there. There was children,
Yes.
and next to us was a woman in her, I'd say, late 60s,
Yes.
singing along to a bit of Posty. So it was nice. It was a nice time.
It's very
stuff.
wholesome.
It's funny actually. You mentioned the old DAC there. I didn't tell you. I on Friday night when I was going over to the old car there after the show, and I was standing at the lights, and I was going,
God.
"My
Do we need
God,
to use a sting?
nah, it wasn't anything to do with me." And I just went, and I could smell ganja. It was like, it was just reeking, and I was like, "Where the is that coming from?" And there was a dude standing next to me, maybe sort of early 20s, just sucking on a massive doobie with not a care in the world. Couldn't give two shits
Hell yeah.
about anything, and just didn't even sort of wait for the buzzer and stuff. Just cruised over the, walked across, then cruised across the other side of the road, just smoking his dope. Flicked it out and then just walked into Sky City. No worries.
As
Bob's
it
your
should
uncle.
be.
Yeah.
As it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. There was a certain comedian that had.
To radar.
No, it wasn't Raids. Quite pungent marijuana back in the day, Mogi.
Sure.
And I'll never forget, there was a Scottish comedian, I think his name was Andy Kay or something like that. He was quite big at the time. And we were all sitting in the green room there, and he runs into the green room and he goes, "Has anyone got any duck? Has he got any marijuana here? Has anyone smoke any?" And this particular comedian said, "Yeah, I've got some, man. I've got some DAC," and gave him a joint. And he smoked the joint in the green room, the entire joint.
Wow.
Just smoked it all. And we're all going, me and Johnny Bruff, we were like, whoa, because we were pretty keen on that stuff, but we never did it before a gig. And then there was about 10 or 15 minutes that passed, and we were going, how is he going to go on and do a gig? Because you could just tell by his eyes, off his head.
Sure.
And he ran on stage and started doing his gig, then pulled a rubbish bin on stage and climbed inside the rubbish bin and did a stand-up in a rubbish bin, and it was brilliant.
Really?
It was brilliant. And everyone was just pissing themselves with laughter. And I went, I can't do that. I would go on stage. Like Johnny and I did that once, and it was a terrible mistake. It was a terrible mistake.
I think if you're going to be self-conscious, which I sort of
Yes.
turn quite inward
Yes.
on weed, so it's never been my drug.
Same.
I get too self-conscious.
Massively so.
Yeah.
Which is why I sort of gave it up. I just got too paranoid. You'd go to parties and go, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then Johnny and I had a party trick, which I probably shouldn't tell you about, which is Johnny giving me a blowjob.
Yeah.
And whatever, not an actual blowjob, like he used to pretend, he had this whole thing done. It became quite known around the party scene. And so every party we'd go to, we'd walk in and they'd go, "Johnny, give Jace a blowjob. Give Jace a blowjob." And he would. But especially if you're off your head, just stoned out of your head, standing watching people watch Johnny pretended to give me a blowjob. My God.
Parties these days, not the same.
Yeah, they're not, man.
No.
Ridiculous. But I'm the same. I get very inward. I didn't used to. It used to be great times, but
Yeah.
and I'd have to have quite a few beersies too, just to calm me down.
Right.
Just to get crossfaded.
Yes.
Like, I very rarely smoke dope without
Oh, really?
drinking.
Interesting.
I used to, that would be the only time I would smoke it.
Right. Okay.
Oh, is that true? That's not true. But what I would think was I would say to myself, don't drink. Don't smoke weed if you're drinking because you'll just green out. And then I get pissed enough and you think to yourself, that'll be sweet.
Couple of tokes.
That'll be sweet, mate.
Yeah.
Greened out. She's all over. I never really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Oh, there were times I
trying to-
loved it. I
yeah.
loved it for a long time, and then
Too
it was
much
just
of a good thing.
Yeah, and then it just got to the point where I wasn't enjoying it anymore, so it was no hassle for me to stop doing
Yeah.
it. I just went, actually, this is making me really
It was quite
uncomfortable.
good. Marijuana falls into the same sort of area as gambling for me, where
Right.
it was like, oh yeah, no, I'm all good.
Yeah.
Plenty of other things out there, pugs.
Because you were saying, Pugs,
Crack.
you just hoe into it.
What's that?
You're like a 24/7 boy on the greenery.
My mother listens to this podcast, and
Yeah,
what I
you
will
were
say
saying,
is
yeah,
that
yeah.
I've got a pretty healthy relationship with it, as far as
If it's
self-control.
there, you'll smoke it, and if it's not,
won't.
you'll rob your mum to get some.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly that.
Sure.
Yeah,
You'll sell
yeah.
off all your possessions and shit so you can, buy yourself score some weed.
But she isn't knowing that I've been robbing her. It's sort of just like a purse every time I go down to Wellington.
Yeah.
See
Yeah.
what's in there cash-wise.
The Hodaki Big Show Podcast. The Hodaki Big Show Podcast.
Don't think I've ever robbed my parents, actually. to
The
be
only
fair.
thing I ever used to steal from my mother for was to play Street Fighter 2.
Hell yeah.
Right.
But you get, I'd steal $2.
Yes.
That was it. That would see me through for hours. That was hours.
Were you
And then
pretty
I'd steal
handy
it.
on Street Fighter? Were
You're
you?
pretty good at the Street Fighter, mate.
Was that the one with the do with all the buttons?
Yeah, 6
Do-do,
buttons.
do-do,
I know,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was a national sport in this country for a period, I'd say. I'd say there's more kids playing Street Fighter than there would have been doing any other activity.
Yeah.
100%, I would say that.
Yes.
More than sport, anything. One of my best mates, and continues to be one of my best mates, he wagged his school C exams. I think it was accounting and maths, so that he could go and play Street Fighter.
That's
And
so
and
dope.
it wasn't like, oh, I've got to go and play Street Fighter. It was like more along the lines of, is there any point really me doing these exams? I
Yeah.
might as well go and play Street Fighter.
That makes me. That actually makes me feel better. Weirdly enough. The only thing I stole from my folks was durries
Sure.
and my stepmom.
Yeah, you stole your stepmom.
No, I stole her durries.
Oh, do you remember
And
that?
I was always very cunning with it. I was always like give them jip about smoking all the time,
Yeah.
so they'd never suspect me. And then
even,
when
though
they
you
bust,
even though you reeked of cigarettes.
well, they didn't know because they reeked
reeked
of
of
cigarettes.
cigarettes.
You know what I mean? And I look back and I've mentioned this before when I was smoking at school and stuff. And we'd go out in the middle of class, my mate and I, and have a durry, and we would have just stunk the place out.
Yeah.
But they never called us out on it.
Nah, probably pleased to see the back of you for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you remember those first cigarettes? Hard to get through, man. Oh, gee whiz.
I have a real fondness and memory for my first rollie,
Oh, yeah.
and it was a drum tobacco.
Yeah, I know it.
And just getting the massive head spin and just going, this is so good.
The head rush was the thing.
Yeah,
And then over time, quite quickly, that disappeared.
and it was just plain addiction.
Yeah, just
after that.
pure addiction.
And I remember thinking, because I somehow managed to procure a Sac-O drum,
Yes.
and I don't know how, and just thinking, man, this is going to last me forever, which it did back in the day,
Yeah.
of course, because when I was smoking at school, you'd have 2 durries a day, maybe.
Yeah.
Good times, pugs.
That's hardcore, man.
And also in reading this book that I'm reading about giving up darts, nicotine only stays in your body for 24 hours.
Yes.
That's it. So you actually, if you stop, like now, for us, we have no addiction to nicotine. There is no physical need
Is that right?
to satisfy it. So it's an entirely psychological thing. When you have the gum, when you have the patches, it's entirely a psychological addiction.
Yeah.
Because 2 to 3 days after, you have no physical pangs or desires or anything like that. It's all in your head.
That's amazing, eh?
It is.
And that's why, like my bro who gave up years ago, still hankers, man.
Yeah.
Hankers.
That's the thing, because this guy is saying, he's saying all this stuff. But what he doesn't, but what he said, one of the things he says, which I disagree with, he goes, he says people are addicted to the smoking, the psychological side of it, but there's nothing good about it because there's people that only smoke at parties or things like that. They'll go, I'll only have it then, and that's because they know that smoking's no good. But I disagree with that. It's because they know it's bad for them. So they'll say, look, because he's saying there's nothing good about it. The taste is horrible. It stinks. You actually don't like the flavour of it. There are no positives. Take, for example, people that only smoke at parties now and again.
Yes.
But I disagree. I think it's because people smoke only at parties because they know it's terrible for your health.
So
and it's really expensive. So I'll do it a little bit. I'll have a little bit of a good thing. I won't do it all the time.
Yes.
So I don't think he's got that right on. So I'm sort of reading it going, he's got that wrong. I might start again tomorrow.
Putting in your little notations.
Yeah, wrong.
Good on you, Mogi.
Wrong. Yeah.
Good on you, mate.
Righto.
Your Horaki Big Show Keezy word of the day is...
What were we talking about?
Dak.
Dak. There you go. Good on you, Pugs. That's a good one, man.
Thanks.
Dak.
Thanks.
D-A-K. Daktari.
Good stuff, Pugs.
Send that in with
Good
all the other...
shit, man. Especially when you consider how high you are. That you just pluck that out of your head.
Yeah. It's crazy. My mind went there. Send that in with all the other Keezy words. It's at Horaki Big Show on Instagram. Follow us while you're there, and then also follow Hoidi J, Mr. Mike Minogue, Call Me Pugs. Don't follow Chris Key and Z. We might be calling you on Monday with a little prize there.
Yeah, great stuff, mate. Thanks, mate.